and Jim Miller are a Silverton, New Jersey couple with a problem. Cheryl has multiple sclerosis, MS. It turns out that marijuana relieves some of the painful symptoms of her disease, and it works better than any prescription drug she's tried. So for over a decade now, Cheryl and Jim have petitioned state and federal government officials for legal access to the medicine she needs. Instead of getting help, they've been put off, ignored, lied to, and even arrested. Their story is one of thousands across America today. Sick people swept up in the drug war, pawns in a game of political chess.
Jim, can you tell me a little bit about your issue and how long you've been doing it?
Well, about 10 years ago, I read something about marijuana being beneficial to combat multiple sclerosis spasticity. Dealing with Cheryl's multiple sclerosis for about 10 years at that time, nothing catches your eye like multiple sclerosis in the headline.
Well, Jim, tell us a little bit. You mentioned Cheryl. Tell us who Cheryl is, what your relationship is to this person.
My darling wife of 17 years.
Wow.
She was in a wheelchair when we met, very healthy, robust. You'd look at her and think, this is not a person that even belongs in that wheelchair. There was something about her that was just so human that I'd never seen in anybody else. It was from the moment I met her, I said, no, not the wheelchair thing. I can't, but I couldn't let it go. She's magic. I think everybody knows that that meets her.
Can you tell me her children? How many children?
Yeah, Cheryl had 4 children, 3 sons and a daughter.
At what point in her life was she diagnosed with MS?
In about 1970, late 70, early 71, she was having problems with her balance, and she went to the doctor for a long time before they just eliminated everything else and decided that it was in fact MS.
And so you're saying that it's progressive?
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little about what her symptoms are and when it manifested itself and how it manifested itself and just exactly how did it progress?
Well, from what I understand, before I met her, it wasn't too severe, but it wasn't the good and bad days that you hear about with relapsing, remitting. She has what's called chronic progressive or secondary progressive, steady downward spiral for the rest of your life. Became aware with her son's death just how her mood affects her health. It's very dependent. So feeling good about yourself and what you're doing in your life in general will keep MS at bay. Things start happening and it just takes hold. It's amazing. Her prognosis is that there is no cure. It's hard with MS to say exactly how it's going to go. It's kind of like with some diseases you can see the end. You can see it rolling down to an end. And in some ways I think that would be a benefit. With MS it's more like walking near the edge of a cliff. And you know it's there. She's had MS for a little over 30 years. The average is 30. It's different for everybody. So she's already served her time.
How does marijuana help ease those symptoms that she has? And how did she discover that marijuana helped her?
I was on a radio call-in show, a local show, about 9 years ago. And they were talking about drug addicts. I had nothing to do on Sunday morning. We were doing some therapy, and I called in and said, my wife's a drug addict. And I explained that she was addicted to certain drugs, and of course
And what drugs were they?
Well,
just give me a rundown. Are we talking Schedule II drugs?
Yeah, she was addicted to Schedule II drugs, Transine. She doesn't take it anymore because if she didn't take it, she would have a seizure, and she's been to the hospital twice from running out of Transine, a legal medication. Baclofen, or otherwise known as Larisol, the most commonly prescribed drug for antispasmodic for MS. She's had to give up her steroid shots that I gave her for 10 years. They stopped making the steroid, ACTH, it was called, the letters, because it was dangerous. They stopped making it. Yeah, 10 years later, thanks a lot. She had to stop taking a drug called dantrolium sulfate, or dantrium, because it was interfering with her liver function. So basically all of her medicine has side effects that come almost close to outweighing the benefits, and when they do, we have to move on to something else. What happened was on the radio show when I talked about this, and I'd heard about it, but we didn't have any marijuana for her. When they found out what it was about, the guy having the show called out to his listeners that anybody that wanted to donate marijuana or at a reduced rate. And I heard this on the phone. I thought, oh, he can't be saying this on the air. And what happened was he said after we'd hung up, 2 minutes later, Jim, I've got 2 calls. I'll be in touch. And the host of the show called up in the morning and told me behind the A&P, I know where the A&P is, 3 large rocks. It's under the middle rock. This 62-year-old man who probably never smoked pot in his life. So I gave Cheryl her morning medicine, so in case I got busted, at least she'd have her morning medicine by the time I bailed myself out. And I went under the middle rock. There was an amount of marijuana, perhaps a 1/4 of an ounce, with a note typewritten, Jim, sorry the law can be such an ass. And I saved that typewritten note. I brought it home. We didn't know what to do. I mixed it in a salad dressing, and I did the right thing accidentally because, of course, as I found out, the fat in the oil will bind with the THC and is a very good way to introduce it to the system. What I wasn't prepared for is when I gave her that salad dressing, I had no idea it was going to happen. Her arms are tight, very hard to move. When I pick her up, she's more like a stiff board than limp. That when she had that salad dressing on, I could see she felt better, and I went to do her stretching, range of motion exercises. It was a whole different person. It wasn't subtle. It was phenomenal. That I couldn't believe how easily her arms moved, and she could move them further by herself because she could still move her arms a bit by himself, not much with the left. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And as shortly ago as a couple of years ago, she had a very good amount of marijuana orally and started moving her right arm again where she hadn't moved it in years. It hasn't happened since, and it's not supposed to happen, so we have no idea how good it can be.
Now you say a very good amount of marijuana.
She was having it in a salad dressing, so
combined with the oil.
Yeah, she had a little bit more.
Infused.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I have to try the medicine first myself. Whether I like to or not wouldn't even be the issue. I have to try it to know that it doesn't hurt me. And if I don't get sick and it doesn't hurt me, then she can have it days later. And that's the best we could do because there is no system in place to do this for us. So we can not do it or we can take some chances. And I lay it out for her and it's her decision.
Does she have a prescription for Marinol, and does it help?
She's had a prescription for Marinol for about 9 years. When it was prescribed because her neurologist had just had a twice-a-year visit, and he said he was worried that she might not even be alive in 6 months. He put it that the visit might come too late next time in a half year, and he was so worried that he asked me, is there anything I could think of? I thought it was a very good move for a doctor, and I suggested Marinol. He looked it up, and he came back upset that Marinol's side effects were nothing compared to the medicine he was prescribing, and worried him sick about the side effects. So he prescribed it based on lack of side effects. And he found that it worked as well for her alertness, that he could communicate better, as well as relaxed her. And he worked the dosage up until she takes up to 40 milligrams a day. The state of New Jersey pays for it through the Pharmaceutical for the Aged and Disabled program, PAAD, and they pay a little less than $25,000 a year for Cheryl's Marinol.
Does marijuana work better than Marinol, or does Marinol work better than marijuana? What is your experience?
I like to say that while Marinol works far better than her other prescribed legal drugs, marijuana is again that much better than Marinol. It is just that much of a jump ahead of it.
Is there any good substitute for marijuana?
I wish there was. I wish anything else could be a substitute for it. We have tried every kind of therapy and every kind of prescribed drug that you could possibly think of that has anything to do with the form of MS that Cheryl has. Nothing works as well. Nothing gets rid of the pain. And nothing leaves her so lucid that she can take part in a simple conversation where at times in the evening when she's had her other medicine with her Marinol that she does take, she can fall asleep so fast that I have to watch to see if she's breathing, because you'll talk to her 1 minute and you'll turn around and look, and her jaw will be dropped, her eyelids will be half closed, and her eyes will be rolled up a little, and that's a deep sleep induced by a legal prescription. Marinol doesn't do that. Marijuana doesn't even come close to doing that. That legal medicine she takes scares me a lot. Very scary.
In a country of free citizens where compassion and mercy are still held as virtues, why can't Cheryl Miller get her medicine? The federal government's own Institute of Medicine determined that marijuana can be an effective treatment for her symptoms. More than 80% of Americans support the right to cannabis for the sick, yet still, Cheryl and others like her face harsh criminal punishments for seeking relief from their suffering. Somehow, our policymakers have become confused. They act as though they're protecting people, when the evidence shows they're harming people at the most vulnerable time in their lives, when sick or dying. Those who support current policy can't claim that marijuana is unsafe. Many truly dangerous drugs are widely used in medicine. They may fear that allowing doctors to prescribe marijuana will somehow increase its use generally, but by this logic, all drugs should be banned. Drug war hysteria is the reason our government denies medicine to the sick. But cooler, more compassionate heads can prevail. Despite interference from the federal government, marijuana by doctor's prescription is becoming available in a growing number of American states. It's happening because people like you have contacted their representatives and demanded that the government stop hurting sick people and start respecting our human right to medical freedom. You can learn more about Cheryl and Jim Miller's struggle and what you can do to help at their website, cherylheart.org.
Jim, has marijuana ever been prescribed by a doctor? Has it ever been talked about by your doctor? Or any of the doctors that she's seen in her medical history?
They get their information from us. I give them the information I have. I give them the technical information I have. The New Jersey Medical Society supports studying in New Jersey. And they are cautious because they don't know, and they're hearing it from me, and I can't reassure them that everything's going to be okay. But they know that they can say don't do it because it does seem to work, and just based on the fact that what we tell her, they know I'm not lying. They just hope I'm not misinformed. And their neurologist did say that if it were prescribable in New Jersey, that he would prescribe it for her.
Jim, over the years, how has Cheryl gotten the marijuana that helps her?
There are people over the years I've met that have been very generous. It's just been given to me, phone call, I'd like to visit, or I could take a drive. And I'd say over the years there's probably about 20 or so people, and as many as 12 of them I didn't know hardly at all, that have heard about Cheryl and offered assistance. Everybody takes risk doing that, though. There's fairly severe penalties in New Jersey for distribution.
Have you ever been arrested for marijuana, or has Cheryl ever been arrested with possession or cultivation or any type of marijuana offense?
We've never been arrested the way people are normally arrested, by getting caught. We did feel the need to bring the point home to Congress in a way that only an arrest could do. So Cheryl and I were both arrested for the first time in our lives on March 30th, 1998, as she ate marijuana, a small piece of marijuana, more ceremonious, as she possessed it and swallowed it about a pill size, in Congressman James Rogan's office in the Cannon office building in Washington, in front of, give or take, 18 television cameras. It was the picture of her, and the marijuana going into her mouth was in the Washington section of the USA Today, and it was on all the major newscasts. With all that evidence, 3 weeks later, the state attorney's office declined to press charges against either of us. People are worried about going to jail that are really sick. If they just got a hold of the fact that they couldn't walk into jail and get a night there, they would be made to leave. When Cheryl did a tincture test with marijuana from her hospital bed in front of the State House on October 10th, 1997, it was announced in the Star-Ledger that she was going to break the law that day, civil disobedience. State troopers watched, 3 television cameras were there and 3 newspapers present. As Cheryl drank an illegal tincture, the state troopers just watched. They really didn't want to stop anything. When it was done, I turned it in to the head trooper in charge. He had a vein bulging in his head. He wanted to take me down. I watched it on television. He was so close, and he said, "And what would you have me do with this?" Which wasn't the reaction. It wasn't anything in my chess match of how this might work out. So I suggested that he would do whatever his duty dictated. I would suggest having it tested. Give me a summons if what I say is true, charge me as they should. So he said, "Why don't you go have it tested then?" And now it got surreal, and I had 2 choices. One, I could grab his cuffs and slap him on myself and cuff me to him, or I could just leave, and even I know this is good enough, we've made a point. I felt really out on a limb, but I know when I'm with Cheryl, I'm safe.
If you can help in the effort for truth and relevance in local media coverage, be sure to visit nextplayvideo.com on the web. Learn how to sponsor independently produced video programming on your local cable access channel. It's easy, it's free, and it's time your voice was heard.
When did you and Cheryl start protesting, and why? I mean, it's kind of obvious why, but when did you start protesting?
In 1993 was about 2 years we've been dealing at the congressional level, not so much in the state of New Jersey, at the federal level. And we found that there was absolutely no way to get this in front of people. And I was so frustrated that everybody you talk to individually understands.
By everyone, you mean the elected?
And no, anybody, people, or even as people, elected officials. But my opinion for those 2 years was, if people knew what we know and felt at all a small part of what we feel, that this is the impetus for change, the threat of not being reelected by people wanting what they want. The media didn't have a vehicle they really wanted. They want to see ponies and circus acts. They want to see something. They don't care to just say this is a good story. So I decided that if I pushed Cheryl's wheelchair from Seaside to Trenton, 58 miles non-stop, the picket sign in it, that I would go by several thousand people, and there may be some media interest. There was, and it kind of opened the door that told me that protest was a means to get the media there, that other people could see it, yet it's almost impossible to really get the feeling. You don't want to look like just some disgruntled citizen. It's kind of hard. We walk a tightrope even picketing.
Why is it important to Cheryl to participate when her illness makes it so difficult?
Very good question. And it's something I've had to come to understand, because I need to know how important this is to her, so I don't misinterpret her will as her thinking this is something that I want to do and she's going along with my wishes. I want to know that it's her wish. And the problem is Cheryl knows that she's not going to see this legal in her lifetime. But she also knows that if she had seen it legal in her lifetime when she was just getting MS, maybe she wouldn't be so bad. And she knows a lot of people are getting MS right now. And they may not know the importance of this, that when they should find out that everything else is not enough, this might be available for them. So she feels that she wants to leave as much here as she can. That sometimes she knows that the weaker she gets, the more power she has to show people that, one, you can stick up for your rights if you can get out, and you don't need to be afraid. And if she can do it, anybody can do it. Most importantly, she wants other people that don't know about this to find out that they may at least do it illegally if it would help their life now. And again, when it finally does happen, and it will, because it does work, this will not go on forever. Someday it will be known, and someday people will reap the benefits of this amazing plant medically. When it does, I'm going to believe she had something to do with it.
Why do you both stay in New Jersey and not move somewhere like California where it's easier to get medical marijuana?
We could move to California. It seems like now they have enough in place that I know we could move there. And I know I would be allowed a little garden that I could grow for her. I know she would do better, and I've expressed this to her that maybe we should do this, and I've told her I think it might be a good idea. She wonders, who will there be here?
Is there a stigma that you suffer, or that Cheryl suffers? Have you lost respect from friends? Have you lost jobs because of this struggle? Has the struggle been worth it?
We seem to be rather respected, even amongst people that might disagree with us, even if they can't to our face. I think in the beginning there was a stigma that perhaps this was something to fit a personal need for a recreational drug. That would have been convenient for somebody that disagreed. But when they understand that Cheryl never recreationally used marijuana in her life, not in the 50s, the 60s, not in the 70s, when everybody else offered, she said no. She said no every time she was supposed to. So now when she says it works for medicine, people relatively believe her.
What would you say to those who think marijuana has not been put through the proper FDA protocols?
I would like to ask them if they have a clue as to why that hasn't happened after 30 or so years of batting it back and forth. Does it work? Doesn't it work? That test's no good. That test wasn't done right. Common logic says with people like Barry McCaffrey and Bob Barr and Bill McCollum and John Mica all saying the same thing. Don't you think if they really thought it didn't work, that they would have it tested and wave that paper in front of my face and say, ha?
Jim, are you worried about law enforcement?
Not at all, no. Not at all. I'm worried about Cheryl. And I think in all our lives, we look back and say, I wish I'd done more, whether it's a grandfather or a father. Somebody could have helped when you had a chance and then it became too late. Now, I know I'm going to be looking back, and I can be looking back and saying, oh, if it wasn't for law enforcement, I'd have done more. No, I'm going to look back and say it took big swings, and they have nothing that I fear. Like I fear Cheryl's pain getting out of control, and I can't take care of her. They have nothing I fear, like when I told Cheryl I was very happy that when Dr. Kevorkian was helping patients die, that MS was his #1 patient. ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, close second. That out of all the diseases in all the world, it was MS that was mostly going to Dr. Kevorkian. It tells me, very sad. And I told Cheryl I was very happy that she would never consider that, and she looked me right in the face and said, what makes you think I wouldn't consider it? Made me go cold. That scares me way more than law enforcement. Doesn't come close. Far distant second.
Well, how does all of this now become a matter for our legislators? You know what I mean? Like everyone, we're talking about this illicit substance that really can do many people much good. And why are people like Cheryl not proof enough to move doctors and legislators to act? What do you see as the stumbling block? Like, why is it that, why don't they know what we know? What is it? Is it so politically motivated? Is it really a political time bomb?
A lot of people went with the tide to a point where they see they may not have been doing the right thing, but they don't have a back door. They don't know where their back door is, which is why now it's a little easier for some people to get onto a resolution saying maybe this should be looked at least. They're taking timid first steps.
To change the way our government treats sick people, you need to make contact. Find out your representative's position on this issue and let them know what you want them to do. Visit nextplayvideo.com on the web for information on how to contact your elected officials. You can also learn more about marijuana medicine, drug policy, and video activism. It's often very difficult for people struggling with serious illness to speak out for themselves, so they need our compassion, common sense, and clear voices to advocate on their behalf. Because she rarely gets a chance to speak and be heard, we wanted to leave you with a few words from Cheryl Miller.
Cheryl, I'd like to know what the most frustrating thing is about this fight that you've been waging for decades to achieve medical marijuana. Please tell me.
Okay. I'm very frustrated because I've known other patients that have tried the medical marijuana and they've done much better. But, you know, it still keep coming up. The congressman always told me, you know, well, we're going to get to you next year, you know. But I've had a long time.
Cheryl, do you feel that the legislators have let you down?
Yes. Most of them, anyway. They're liars.
Stop arresting patients! 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 Stop arresting patients!